Walk me through the exact assignment you received and what you actually turned in.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was asked to give my opinion, just my opinion, in a reaction to an article that we were assigned to read in a psychology class I'm taking. It's lifespan development.
Right.
So it's mostly supposed to be about childhood development and how children develop. And we were asked to read an article, give our reaction to it, and give our opinion on it. And it was about gender binary and the mental side of that. And gender stereotypes and how that affects children and those kinds of things. I did that. I met all the requirements in the instructions and in the syllabus. Previous to this assignment, I had a 97 in the class and I had gotten 100% on every single essay, every writing assignment, 100%. Like this teaching assistant had no problems with my writing
Right.
until this assignment. So I wanted to point that out because I had been doing good on my writing assignments previous to this, and I wrote it the same format and everything that I had done for my other writing assignments in that class. And I was a little more passionate about this topic when I was writing about it than previous topics because it's definitely more of a hot topic than any other assignment being given in that class. I gave my reaction to the paper and gave my opinion and used the Bible to back my opinion. We didn't need any evidence or anything. So I wasn't using the Bible to provide evidence to back me up. I was just speaking from my worldview and my opinion come from the Bible. So naturally, that's where that came from.
Good evening, Patriots. This is Rashard Tortorello with the Patriot Sentinel, and I've got two great stories tonight that show you exactly where the battle lines are drawn in America. First up, at the University of Oklahoma, a Christian student gets a zero for citing the Bible in a psychology essay, a personal opinion paper, then gets accused of hate speech by a transgender instructor. But Samantha Fulnecky didn't back down, and the whole country is watching. Second, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is under fire from not from the narco-terrorists, but from the Washington Post for actually killing the cartel operatives flooding our streets with fentanyl. 83 dead traffickers, and the left calls it a war crime. Hegseth's response: Biden coddled terrorists, but we kill them. From campus censorship to the Caribbean combat ops, this is what happens when conservatives finally fight back and refuse to apologize. Let's get into it. I have my co-hosts Gloria Bannister and Cam Ulula. We had call signs because his last name I can't pronounce for as long as I've known him. So we're just going to call him Can U. But let's go ahead and start with the biggest story in Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma seems to have not learned their lessons when it comes to conservative students and freedom of speech. So, Gloria, we discussed this the other day, and you had some choice words to say. So, I did interview Samantha, and we wrote an article, and then I called Gloria. I said, watch the video, and then what are your thoughts? So we'll start with Gloria. Did OU screw up again? Are conservative students?
Absolutely, they did. Yes. Here's the deal. Emotion is driving this conversation, right? It's not the data. So the facts are that when someone's identity is deeply tied to their belief system, facts are personal for them, right? They feel personal. And so she was speaking science related because it was coming from the Bible, and they're hearing an attack. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what happened. Their emotions are so deep seated because they know they're wrong. Deep
Right.
down, they have to know that they're wrong. Because biblically, which we know is a historic book, it's been proven over and over. So yes, I'm siding with this young lady. This professor is wrong.
So the core issue is that OU psychology student who wrote an essay based on the Bible, arguing that acceptance of transgender people is demonic, received a zero. Now she's a graduate student, and every paper she has submitted since then has always had no problems. It was accepted by her TAs. Um, Cam, do they violate her First Amendment religious freedom rights?
Well, so when we talk about freedom of speech, everybody has the opportunity to have freedom of speech. But again, we don't have the freedom of consequence. The expectations from a professor to a student, you could tell that I feel like she was uh, just put in a box, and instead of reading the paper and grading it, they just threw it out. Uh, I see the level of energy that she could have put by not doing anything and received the same grade compared to all the work she put in. So I think that there was a bias from the beginning rather than pulling her aside and having a conversation and going, hey, let's talk about this. And this is what the rubrics, and is there any way you could modify or even have the conversation? I had a professor that did that with me. There was something that I didn't understand the assignment. And instead of giving me a bad grade, they pulled me inside and said, hey, let's have this conversation. What's your thoughts? And even though we didn't agree on the same thing, that professor was able to go, I get where you're coming from. Now I see your point. In this one, big zero, I feel like, everybody lost here. The professors lost, the campus, and the student lost. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
nobody won in this.
Well, so there was no professor. It was an online class, and it was taught by two TAs. Um, Christian students have always been targeted in academia by universities like OU. Glory, do you think it's time that they just, as an instructor, leave your ego at the door? If you were an instructor teaching a class and you're ultra conservative, as we know, and you gave the class an assignment, and a paper was turned in that you did not agree with, but it was properly written, it was well written, they may have cited properly here. Would you have had an issue with the paper if it conflicted with your moral or your religious or your ideological differences?
Well, a lot of professors today, including transgender professors, they react badly when you quote biological truths because you're not just challenging an idea, you're challenging their ideology. And in many of these universities, and OU's not the only one, but uh, gender identity isn't treated as a debate topic, right? It's treated as sacred. And so when you speak science and you quote from the Bible, they hear disrespect. And it's emotion over evidence. That's the big thing, right? Is facts matter, your feelings don't. And that's why the conversation is becoming so hostile. And it came so
This
fast. But then on social media, that's the other aspect. I'm sticking up for this young lady and I'm getting attacked by vitriol hate.
Well, I've been attacked too, so I've got a lot of private messages like, she just wrote a shitty paper, and I have a copy of the
Hmm.
rubrics, and I looked at it, and like I said, if she improperly cited the Bible, knock 5 points off her grade. But receiving a zero basically means you didn't turn in the assignment. Okay, so she did
Correct.
turn in an assignment. He or she um, is on the record, or TA is saying that he found it offensive. Okay, and there you have it. Combined views in the last 24
Yeah.
hours has been 38 million views on this story. The article that
Hmm.
we wrote and posted has got almost 20,000 views, just people who have clicked on the story and read it. And
That's
it's
amazing.
probably the number one story in the last couple of months because I think conservatives are just tired of being picked on. Now, Cam,
Fed up.
the state has politicians have claimed they want to intervene on her behalf. Um, is this a good idea, or should we let the system and OU conduct their investigation and see what turns up, or do you think grandstanding will help push that process forward or stall it?
So I'm going to add to it. I think the system is flawed because if you look at higher ed, they don't fall under the education department. I kind of wish that they fell under the education department so there's more checks and balances. So we could
Hmm.
have an elected official come in and have a conversation and go, hey, this is appropriate, this is not appropriate. So when we talked about the chancellor for higher ed, how were they elected? They weren't. So if this person is not stepping up and having a conversation with the institution and the student and being the face of Oklahoma for higher ed, then why do we have this department? I will say until the stakeholders hold the institution accountable, nothing is gonna happen. Unfortunately.
Well, Gloria, you have that smirk on your face. So you have a joke, or do you have inside baseball you want
No,
to share?
I'm just so over this. I'm just over it because
The best.
OU just keeps breaking hearts. I mean, these institutions make a lot of money, and I think that I'm okay with them parading her around and getting her noticed and getting the problem at hand noticed. But I have another problem that doesn't get addressed. And there's a several really good people at the Capitol that are doing stuff on behalf of people that have been victimized by DHS. But then, yet, we have other incidences that keep happening over and over. When's any of it going to work? When's any of it going to get fixed? I hear this, but nothing ever happens. Why isn't DHS been abolished yet? Why?
See that subtle topic change you just threw in there? So I
Yes,
love
I
it.
know. I'm sorry, but I had to
That's okay.
because it just irks me.
All right, let's go on to number two. Topic number two: Secretary of War Pete Hegseth's war with the media. So the core policy, since September, we have the U.S. military has conducted 21 strikes against alleged drug trafficker boats, killing at least 83 narco-terrorists. So Hegseth yesterday defended the strike at the White House as lethal kinetic strikes intended to stop the entry of lethal drugs into America. In the controversy, for example, the washed up Washington Post reported that Hegseth ordered to kill everybody on the drug boat. So when they targeted the boat, I guess survivors were in the water. And what's our policy? It's to kill the enemy. Okay, these guys are no different than ISIS or any of the terrorists we fought in the Middle East, Cam. So in the fog of war, okay, as they're calling it, I thought it was proper that we kill the enemy dead. There's no look. We're not going to go out there and bomb ISIS or camp in the Middle East and then not bomb them into oblivion or go back and say, "Oh my God, we have survivors. We shouldn't do anything." So the politicians and the media are still on this boat, pun intended, that we should have tried to save the survivors that were blown up the other night, and they just don't understand what we do as warfighters. Our job is to kill the enemy dead. So why don't
Yes.
they understand this, Cam?
I'll be honest with you. I think that these people don't understand what kind of problem we're having right now. This is not something that is just terrorism. It is a parasite that has come into our borders. And like, look, go to Philadelphia, go to New York, go to any city, and you could see homeless victims walking around, doing the zombie thing,
Zombie.
and it's because of
Mhm.
these individuals. I'll be honest with you. I don't have empathy. If you're a bad guy, you know that that is bad. They're killing our people. Why should we feel
Mhm.
bad that these people don't get the same, let's call it the eye for an eye treatment? So the when someone writes that, it's because they're part of the parasite system. That's
And
why we're
and
here, because these guys
and
can report it.
and Pete has some choice words. Like you guys are sitting here in Washington D.C. in your air conditioning offices, and we have soldiers doing the work and protecting the country. And what they don't understand, and look, they understand. Let's just be honest. They are trying to undermine the presidency, undermine
Oh
the
yeah.
Secretary of War's office, and undermine this administration. So everyday Americans, I think level-headed Americans, Gloria, understand what the media and these far left politicians are trying to do. And it's not working. Last night's election proved that nobody gives a shit anymore
Yep.
about their opinions. And it's about time that these guys understand they either get with the program, support the president, or they lose in the midterms just next year. So, Gloria, being a military brat, you know, what do you feel, and how do you feel about politicians and the media who sit in their nice offices here, but they don't understand what our parents had to go through to protect this country?
You know, Washington has tiptoed. They've tiptoed around the cartels forever. They've taken money and put it in their back pocket, however you want to say it. They've been paid off millions of dollars for letting drugs come into this country. And Hegseth is the first Secretary of War that has the cojones to, he's treating them like the killers they are, okay? And honestly, it's about time. It really is. And fentanyl is a foreign attack on American families. Okay? He is the first Secretary of War that is willing to kill and to hit back instead of looking away. So, hooray for Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
Look, we
Fentanyl doesn't
voted for this.
belong.
No, it doesn't
Huh?
belong, and we voted for this. We voted for this,
Yes,
and
yes,
and the change from
yes,
Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War is something that we need because we are at war. We are
absolutely.
at
We
war with
are
the
at war.
terrorists, with
Yes, we are.
narco-terrorists. Now, there's a guy that I went to school with,
Hmm.
and we didn't serve together in the military, but we served during the same time. And I want to say he's a patriot, and he's a flyer. um, and he messaged me and said, "I read your story about the narco-terrorist bombing and the killing, but they're civilians, and we are targeting civilians." I had to push back and say, when in the history, our recent history of being in the military together, we were in the same Air Force together, have we ever targeted civilians on purpose? He did not understand. After 20
Right.
years in the Air Force, he does not understand, and I still respect him and like him. We were classmates, that these aren't civilians. These are
No.
terrorists. And the
Yes, they are.
president
They're narco terrorists.
and the president and the administration and the
Hmm.
secretary of war, they have the right to do what they're doing. So
That's
21
right.
strikes have been executed since September, 83 plus
Hmm.
cartel members eliminated, and every trafficker that is killed is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. So why don't they understand? So I kind of expected from politicians and the legacy media, but what I don't expect is from active duty military or retirees. They do not understand why we are doing this. Cam,
Yeah.
this is not a law enforcement operation. This is a warfare against foreign terrorists attacking America with chemical weapons, fentanyl. Help me help them understand this. What are they missing? How can we better articulate our position to our fellow warfighters, Cam?
So let's switch fentanyl to anthrax. And whoever's retired is going to understand that if you just change those two words, it's as deadly as having fentanyl. So if you don't understand why anthrax is bad and you retired, then my friend, you need to go back in history and read over it because you're missing the point. This is killing our
Hmm.
families, our
Yeah.
children, they're killing our young adults, and anybody in our community. Look, again, go to downtown Oklahoma City. You could see people walking around.
It's zombie
So
apocalypse.
it's sad. And if it's not in your face, then where are you living at?
La
Because
La
it sounds like
Land.
it's La La Land.
They're under a rock.
They're living in denial. They want so bad,
Hmm.
and this is what pisses me off with fellow veterans,
Yeah.
to discredit our veterans and our commander in chief. They are no
Right.
different sometimes than the seditious six. And there's a group that came out. I think it's a veteran group called 51501. I have
Yes.
the leader of that group had sent me a message wanting to talk to me and see where we can find common ground. And I will take her up on that offer because I really want to find out and drill deep on why they believe that the righteous six are doing a righteous job. That's what they call them, the righteous six. You saw the video we
Hmm.
posted about those veterans saying and basically telling active duty members to disobey illegal orders. Now, Gloria, you tell me what illegal orders has Trump or Hegseth or the administration have done to warrant this type of attack on the chain of command. For look, don't forget,
Not one.
for years they have been attacking the chain of command. They've been telling veterans to disobey the commander in chief. Now the seditious six are saying we should obey the command authority structure now. Gloria?
It's just political hack. It's a political hack job. That's what it is. They're not breaking any laws. They're protecting America. And as last I learned and last I heard, I live in America, the United States, right? We fly the American flag and we speak English. We speak other languages. We're a multicultural United States of America. We all came from Europe, Africa, you name it, Italy. It just, but it boggles me. And I will always support our president. I may not like the president, but I will support our president. But Trump has put the right people in place this time around, and we're getting things done and we're protecting America. And that's what we have to do. They haven't broken any laws. Give me a break. You're just fishing. These people are fishing. That's it.
Yeah, they're going to come
And they're
up
not
with
So do
catching
you mind if I
nothing.
intervene real quick? So
Yeah.
why are these people so hypercritical on
Right.
on something where we're taking care of in our shores, rather than when Barack Obama was the president? He was dropping every single bomb possible on everything, including civilians. Why are we having this conversation now when we could have had it back then?
4,000 civilians that did not have due process was killed
Yep.
by Barack Obama
Uh-huh.
and our
Yep.
missiles. So
Yep.
how is this any different? It's not any different.
It's
The
not
only
any
difference
different.
is the only difference is President Trump now. Okay, but no one
Right.
bitched about the cruise missiles that Barack
Nope.
Hussein Obama sent in without due process, killing American citizens overseas. And so it's duplicitous. The politicians suck. The legacy media doesn't understand that what the fog of war means. We know what it means. Politicians and some journalists do not understand what it means. And before we go into the last segment, I want to give Gloria props here. You know, she has a pinched neck nerve, and
Thank you.
and she didn't
That's
want
why
to be
I'm
known
moving
as a,
around a lot, guys. Sorry.
she didn't want to be known as a sissy, and so Mark
No.
pushed her
According to my
through the
husband and
show.
Rashar, I was told to suck it up, Buttercup, by both of them at the same time.
Hey,
Good. It's about
I
time.
had a, I had a
I know.
mind-splitting headache the other day. And I did 2 interviews, and I still sucked it through. You could look. We have
Wow.
30 minutes. We have 7 minutes left on the segment. Cam, tell me about the Mexico America issue that you've been wanting to discuss for a long time.
So it's incredible that the media hasn't reported about what's going on in Mexico. How people are just fed up with the corruption, with the president, the female president, that has neglected its people.
Yep.
And I will say, if you can't feed your family, if you can't work, if you can't do anything, what's the next step? And if your vote doesn't count, where are we going to end up? So that's what the Mexican people are feeling right now, and they are going hard in the paint. They stormed the Capitol, and at the same time, they had metal bears and everything. And these people are just mad, not because they were protesting. No, it was because they can't work, they can't feed their families, their
Nope.
votes mean nothing, and we're supposed to, say, hey, let's don't worry, there's no corruption here, guys. What are you guys talking about? Stop it. And this is not just Mexico. You could go down Central America and South America. Look what's going on with Venezuela.
Yeah.
The president,
Mm-hmm.
he lost, and he said, oh no,
Oh
those
no,
votes
I
are
won.
inaccurate, so I'm going to continue being the president. Maduro.
Maduro.
And
Maduro
when
is
we
an idiot.
talk about how disgusting corruption is, I'm going, hey guys, here in the US, if we don't start paying attention, that could be us. When we look at our politicians, if we don't start advocating for our people, it's going to happen. So this is where we'll talk about, yes, the fentanyl crisis and everything, but we're coming closer if we don't start getting, things correctly. And I will say, kind of like what you talked about higher ed indoctrinating people, with OU, or with to SecWar, taking care of our territory, making sure that drugs don't come this way, because we don't want to be a third world country in America. People want to come to this country, and the people who don't want to be in this country don't move back to their country. So, come on, let's look what's going on in other countries and be thankful we're in this beautiful America.
You know what? I'm gonna add something to what you said that we do have third world conditions here in this country. It's called Minneapolis in some parts of Texas. So I think Trump is on the right track at looking at the Somalians and the Afghan refugees. We got a story coming out. It's going to blow your mind about the Catholic charities in Oklahoma and the Afghan refugee program that was paid by the Biden administration, and this happened around the nation. It was broke by our friends at the Gateway Pundit, and we have a connection here in Oklahoma City that will corroborate everything they've seen, including the mistreatment of American caseworkers and Afghan men. And I'm not going to, it'll go live on Thursday, tomorrow afternoon, or Friday at the latest. But we do have shitholes here, and I say that, if you don't like our country, get the hell out. We'll help you out. So we need to round those people up, and we need to send them back to Afghanistan. And the Somalis, they don't want to assimilate. We talked about this, Gloria, you and I, last week on the episode, is that, in Germany, we opened the doors in the mid 60s to the Turkish people, and we had a workforce shortage. And the caveat was that you learn the German language and you assimilate into the culture, and they did. Okay,
Yes, they
so
did.
are
They
are
weren't
we
building
asking too
mosques.
much? Are we asking too
No,
much for
no.
Afghan refugees or Somali or anybody else? Okay, who escape? And I agree, the shitholes of the world to come to America to live the dream that we have to offer everybody to learn the language and assimilate into the culture. That's not too much to ask.
Yeah. When you're in Rome, you got to be a Roman. I'm sorry.
Yes, I want to walk around in a toga myself. I like the freedom.
Toga, toga, toga.
You know, after covering the OU story, I couldn't help but think that Samantha got a 0 for saying God made men and women different. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
her instructor probably needs a 47-page rubric, 3 trigger warnings in a committee meeting just to grade a simple essay. And somehow we're the ones confused about biology. I don't get it. I've seen combat veterans with PTSD handle stress better than these grad students handle a Bible verse. But hey, at least
because
we know
facts
now that at
matter.
OU, you can
Your
cite
feelings
Freud,
don't
you
matter.
can cite Max or Marx, and you can probably cite your horoscope. Just don't cite the
Marxism.
book that's been around for
La, la, la,
2,000
la, la,
years
la,
because it might offend somebody. So, Cam,
la.
what's your last thoughts, bro?
Hey, again, we're in the best country in this world. Uh, I'm again, Thanksgiving for us was amazing. Thank goodness we live in this country. My wife, my son, we expended like no other. Uh, I texted everybody that I was thankful for, and if I missed you, I'm sorry. I was thinking of you, and now I'm reminding myself to text you next time. But again, we live in a beautiful country. You gotta protect the Constitution. You gotta keep your politicians accountable, your community leaders accountable, and your entities accountable. Because if not, then we become a Marxist society, and that's the worst thing we could do.
Good point. Gloria?
I didn't get a text.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah, I
brokenhearted.
did. I texted you.
You
Stop
did. I
I
it.
was
saw
just
it. We were
kidding.
on the same text group, you
I
knucklehead.
I
texted you. I texted you too,
okay.
and then I texted her by herself because I know she was gonna
Okay.
pull that.
I think
Yes,
she
because I
lost the
had a new
last word.
grandbaby born. So I want to say something real quick. Okay. And I'm going to leave you with this. When we ignore injustice, silence becomes consent, right? The violence against women, the lawlessness, the corruption we see, it is not just a warning, It's more than a warning, right? But every time you hear a warning, it's also a call to action. And that's where facts matter. Those who stand and speak and refuse to look away will shape the future. And make no mistake, the world bends toward those who refuse to be silent. Even though we're getting kickback from people that's negative, we're standing up for the right, not the right, but for the righteousness of life. And I'm appalled at what's going on in Venezuela for my Venezuelan friends and my Mexican friends, my Hispanic friends, because the cartels are killing women for speaking out. So shame on them.
Shame on them. I want to thank our
That's my
viewers
German
tonight.
finger. Shame.
Hey, you want to see my German finger? No. I want to thank. Hey, so
It's not the
Rachel
same as a
Lee
woman.
Ackerman. Hey, okay, settle down
Yes.
there. Rachel Lee Ackerman, thank you. She's a good friend of the program and good friend of ours. Robert
Yep.
Anderson, an old first sergeant in the Air Force, said that the issue with the Democrats trying to undermine President Trump is because he's succeeding in getting the country back on track. And that's absolutely the facts. Trump has held his ninth cabinet meeting, the last one of the year, and Biden held like 9 in 4 years. So the guy is getting back on track. Gas is probably the lowest. I saw $1.99 and more last week. Ross Wood, good friend of mine, the professor is incredibly jealous, but he's a TA of how beautiful, smart, and Christian she is.
I just read that. I thought he's right on.
so, so the TA, and we're not slamming transgender people, so don't go back and send me hate mail again. Okay, so
No, we're not.
this dude is a chick pretending to be a girl. Okay, and if that's how he identifies, it's fine. But I think Ross has probably got a good point that he's probably jealous of her because
Yeah.
she's a Christian and she's beautiful and smart. Um, Robert Anderson, we already talked about that. Um, Judy Vaughn, nice to see you. But I want to thank
Yes.
everyone for showing up tonight, and Gloria for being a stand-up soldier, coming on with a bad neck, and Cam, you and me, large forehead group here, so we got that. Whatever happens to this show in the future, at least we got this going on here.
Hey
Just
man,
don't
we
come
got we
on.
got our we got our experience going.
Look, if you
Does this
come
make
on
you
with a
feel
two,
better? Should I do it too?
if
Put
you
my hair
come
up in a
on
ponytail?
next week with a toupee playing a sitar, I'm gonna be laughing my ass off, bro. In fact, you should
I'm gonna
come
get
on
myself a wig just for you.
with a sitar.
You know, get something this
Well, you guys don't
man.
understand. Look, the most people who understand us, that when we come here to the house or we get together, man, we are always cracking up. And I want this show to always be funny. I know we have some serious things going on this week here. We just come
Sure.
out of Thanksgiving. We got 2 weeks before Christmas, and everyone's competing to have the best lights in our home, and we haven't got ours up yet. But
Oh, you
in
and I.
reality, it's not part of the HOA. So hey, we got those. Hey, you've been to the house, Gloria. You've seen those lights we have up that are a year long. We put the red lights on because we're red
Told you
people.
my idea.
Red meat people. But this show is taking off, and I want to thank you guys. And we didn't
Thanks.
have a show when I was in DC. I was at the RNC for the week, and it was intense. Intense. That's all I can say. Intense. Two
Good.
people dropped out. Campaign finance school. I thought I knew a lot about fundraising on the personal level, but got the skills to do the big things now. There's a lot I learned, a lot of connections. Didn't make it to the White House except on Friday. Madami scammed out and scurried out the back door. I was going to the
Of
National
course he
Press
did.
Club to accept my membership into the press club, and I couldn't do that. Pat McGeegan, I brought him with me on a field trip to DC, and I love Pat McGeegan. He's one of our writers and a mentor of mine. And these trips, back and forth, it's like TDY, Cam. It's like we're going
Hmm.
TDY every 45 days, and I thought I would like it. It's just the traveling back and forth, and staying at the same hotel. It's starting to wear down on me, but I want to thank the viewers. We wouldn't do this without you.
That's
I
right.
want to thank Gloria and Cam. We had decided to do this and take time out of our week to have these conversations. And thank our audience that will watch this tonight and in the next couple of days. We'll see you guys next week. And I wish you good night, good people.
Thank you, bro.
Good night.
Out. Bye.
Ciao.